Welcome back to another episode of the Good Morning Minute podcast. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, certified family life educator, life coach, and founder of Empower Her Steps. And this season, friends, we are exploring one of the most beautiful yet challenging journeys in faith, living out the fruit of the Spirit. Each episode will sit down with guests who share real stories of how God has grown, tested, or restored these fruits in their lives, from love and joy to patience, kindness, and self-control. Today, I'm excited to welcome our special guest to the show, Shaina, and she is a motivational speaker, coach, and author. New author, if I'm hearing correctly. And so, Shaina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Angelina.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get to know you better through our conversation. And so I'm just, I would like for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us about who you are and what fills your days right now.
Well, I not only get to be the motivational coach, speaker, author, permission giver that I am, I get to be a stay-at-home mom. So I've got a 3-year-old little rainbow girl. She just turned 3 yesterday, actually, and she's taking her nap right now. So life is good, right? Life at the speed of naps is what a mom friend told me at one time, and it is so, so true. I also, gosh, I mean, where do I start, right? As a permission giver, I want to be here and have this conversation with you and see where it goes. I love this title of this series, Fruits
Mm-hmm.
of the Spirit. Um, I'm I'm ready. Bring it on.
Yeah, well, I'm excited too. Man, my oldest just turned 30 yesterday. And so you're like, I have a 3-year-old taking a nap right now. I miss those days. And I never knew how much I would miss them until my grandbabies were born and I get to watch them. And it's funny how life does change you. And as you grow from parenting into grandparent, um, the interactions are so different. Because as a grandparent, I now know, I have the wisdom to now know, stop and get on the floor with your grandbabies and enjoy those moments and being blessed enough to be able to stay home and have those moments with your 3-year-old. I just sometimes I wish, like, oh man, I wish I could go back in time and be with my 30-year-old when he was 3 and just really enjoy and embrace those precious moments because they're gone before you know it. I know that's for sure.
Yes.
So I do. I love that, the things that you are sharing. It gives us such a great picture of who you are. So knowing that you're a coach and knowing that I love what you said as far as permission giver. So I really want to unpack what that looks like. And, let's you shift a little and talk today about what our theme is, and that is the fruit of the spirit. And so I just kind of jumping into this conversation in the heart of what we're talking about. When you think about the fruit of the spirit, which one stands out the most in your life right now and why?
I feel like that question is so like it's tenfold, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Because if one of them is experienced, then another, and then another, and then another, right? It creates a snowball.
mhm,
And I think it starts first with healing.
mhm, mhm.
And from there, I would say it goes to like being present. I'm not sure exactly where that would
Yeah,
lie.
no, that is good. So I'm loving what you're saying because as I shared with you before we started recording, the acronym to my Empower Her Steps is HER, and healing is that first letter in HER. And I think when we look at the things that we go through in life, and when we're facing adversity, sometimes when we're in that survival mode, we're so focused on how do I get through this, right? Or how do I just get to the other end of it? You know, we're just fighting for life at
Right.
that point that we don't realize all that we're putting on our shoulders. We don't realize all that we're enduring. We're just trying to get through it to the next day, whatever the case may be. That eventually, we talk about people bringing in their baggage in relationships. You do. You start building these walls or these protections or whatever the case may be because you don't want to deal. And so healing is going, okay, I do need to deal with it. I do need to experience the emotion behind a lot of what has happened to me in order for me to truly understand, because you can't be present if you aren't even aware of where you are emotionally hindered. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And as you're speaking, especially in the healing realm, you are so much focused on yourself.
Mhm,
And yet that is okay.
mhm,
And I remember going through um, counseling, and she just assured me that needing control of all the other things in my life
mm,
was something that was like a survival mechanism,
mm,
right? So
mm,
like as that healing was happening, I also felt like I had to control everything. When really you kind of set yourself up for disappointment or things not meeting those expectations or what have you, right? Like people doing what they do and it getting in the way of your control, right? Or what have you. It just, I don't know, it just kind of brought that to me.
mm. And so let's go there. If
Okay.
that's where we're being led, let's go there. Control. I In my journey, I never thought control was a factor. I always felt like, no, I'm this person that just wants to be kind and look, you turn the other cheek and all of these things. But in actuality, it was a little bit of control there. Like I was trying to control the elements that hit me, which you mentioned so lightly in what you shared, you really don't have control. When I coach and when I work with people, I tell them, the only thing you really truly have control over is what you do, what you say, what you feel. Um, and those elements that are about self, like that's the only thing you have control. And when we're sitting there trying to fight to control a person through relationships or whatever the things, you don't have that. You really don't. That was a hard lesson for me to learn as I was going through my journey. So tell me, let's talk about your story and how control is coming up in this situation. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, to start, it was interesting you mentioned that you started your program in 2019, right? Like just as the world was in this big upheaval and everybody went online and all the things. And that's
Mhm.
about when I started as well. And I was in sales and I was doing the thing and making a little bit of money on the side. And one day I was like, do I have a business here? Like what's going on? Like, maybe I've got something. And I started my business and got laid off from my sales job. And my husband said, well, go into it. 126%. I remember the number because I'm a numbers person. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then, like, everything was going well. Like, the momentum was building, the conversations, the clients were coming in, all of that. And about a year later, we were expecting our first child, and he was stillborn, full term. And it was devastating. And that's where those conversations came in of what can I control?
Mhm.
It was a big part of my story. Like, what of my story can I control? But then it's that reminder of everybody else has a story. And I don't have to share 100% of mine for people to understand, and nor will they ever because of perspective, right? Like all the things that led up in my life in that part of my story, which is not where it ends, but all of that, like nobody has that same trajectory, right?
Mhm.
And so then when you look forward and you look at control, yes, there are plenty of things you can control.
Mhm.
But the coolest one is the relationship you have with yourself, right? Like that, that right there. Because when everything is stripped down and stripped away, you still have yourself,
Mhm.
whether you like it or not, right? Like you still have yourself.
Yeah, that is first and foremost, so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
That's hard. That is really hard. Um, but you're unpacking so much truth here and just sharing the bit of your story that you have. But it's true, at the end of it all, you just have you. And so that's where it all starts as well, right? Who are you? Who do you want to be when you're engaging? Because that's the one thing, and this was an eye opener for me going through my journey. That was the one thing that really hit me in that, aha, I get it moment was when I realized, whether it was a struggle with relationships, a struggle with um, careers, or just job placements, or whatever the case may be, parenting, whatever it was I was going through at that time. At the end of it all, it was me. It was me and what I was doing, what I was saying, all the things that I could control. It was me. And so hearing you say that just hits me in the gut, because I can feel it. I can feel it, as deep as it is. And so that's amazing. And just wondering, those that are listening to this conversation, if it's resonating with them as it is with me, because you're hitting truth there. And so as your experience, everything's stripping away from you and you're there in your vulnerability.
Mhm.
Think was the test, or what do you think was the hardest thing that you were living out in that moment?
Um, it was faith and action. And like that's what God asks us for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, 2 years later, I sit down with my coach, and I've got a 9-month-old baby on my hip. And I said, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
But it was probably at least another year before before those two things came together. If that all makes sense, like it was pieces
Uh-huh.
and then it came together. So being ready, this entire time I had been praying, like, God, please let me just keep being a motivational coach, right? Like I didn't want to have to start from zero or from or go do another thing or what have you, right? Like I really wanted that. And at the time I didn't even know that like you could pray for those kind of things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my kind of faith background.
Yeah.
But I do remember like begging God, like, please let me keep doing this. And so I sit down with my coach 2 years later, saying I'm ready, like it's my turn. And I opened a sisterhood. And so it's online and we meet every week. And it started more for me than for them, right?
Mhm.
Like you told me this in starting your podcast, right? You started it more not only for them, but you're like, well, I'm the boots on the ground. Let's go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started this sisterhood, and every week we meet and we get to unpack a little piece of self-development, right? Self-discovery, and we actually get to put boots on the ground. We put feet on it, we call it.
Mm,
And it wasn't, it was probably a full year later before I realized just how much that allowed me to still show up and still be there and still get to grow. And yet I had also not not grown my audience or my circle, again protecting that story.
mm,
And so now then another year, so then 4 years in after my son was born,
yeah.
um, that's when it kind of all just broke loose. And in all the good ways. Like I started opening up my circle, I started accepting new friend requests on Facebook. Like I hadn't accepted new friend requests in
Mm,
4 years.
mm,
And well, probably three and a half unofficially. I
mhm,
trickled them in there. We started going to church. My husband and I both accepted Christ. I would say I kind of re-accepted Christ, but we accepted Christ together. We got baptized together last summer, a year and a half ago. And it's just it all became this like back to the faith and action, like one foot in front of the other,
mhm,
keeping it in a safe place, right?
mhm,
And let me tell you, God is a safe place.
mm,
Like having Jesus by your side is that safe place. And so every stretch, every pull, every step, it was like I just kept hearing yes,
yeah.
yes, like keep going, like you're here, do the thing.
Mm. I love that. I love that. And I too am fighting back tears because I feel the emotion that you're carrying. And tears aren't always a bad thing because it's a passion. It's a lot of passion. It can be,
Absolutely.
and so there's a lot of sadness in your story for sure, and there's still healing there. I can
Oh, yeah.
definitely tell. Um, but there's a lot of joy there too, and in the moments. And I love how you're talking about having this faith in action just being the foundation of where it all started, this faith in action and knowing. And there's something beautiful about when you're walking in your purpose and you're walking in your calling, how things just fall into place. Because you, like you said, you kept hearing the yes, and one thing after another thing, one step after another step, and it all aligns, and it doesn't even feel like work because it just falls into place so easily. I mean, I've been there. I know that in my own situations, but it's so true because you hear people go, it was all right, and it just felt right, and I just moved. But that's the faith part. Is the feeling. You feel it. It's that intuitive gut feeling that you're just like, no, God's with me. I'm doing this. It's one step after the other. I don't see the step in front of me, but I know I can take it and it's going to be there. And when you do, you land firm on that foundation for sure. Um, so I know that you also shared this part of your story where your faith was tested. It was kind of shaky, and so you went through the whole um rededicating your life to Christ and being baptized with your husband. But what was it that kind of helped reconnect that for you or helped you stay rooted as you're going through this tough journey in your life?
Yeah. Um, I didn't know that answer. And yet I received so many compliments and so many um, people saying that I had helped them through other things just in sharing pieces of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see. My daughter was probably just over a year old, and my word of the year was amidst because I was in the middle of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I I decided somewhere in there, earlier in the year, I said, I need to figure out that answer. Like, how did I survive? How, like, what was it? Was it, and I knew a big piece of it was my connections. Like, I had a big circle of friends, a very diverse, like, unfiltered circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the right people in there to help me through. So that was a big part. And I knew that piece. But I'm like, there's more. There's other things. There were other anchors in my being that were already there. And so that year I decided to kind of just move all the debris, the rest of the debris aside and kind of put names to faces of these anchors of like, what are they? Like, is it something that I can kind of put a name to so that I can give it away?
Mm-hmm.
And because we never know when things are going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And it could just be like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? It could be the dishwasher breaking the same day as the microwave, or you know what I mean? Like it can be something physical, it can be the loss of a child, it can be anything in between. And so I said, okay, what are these things? And it'd be really cool if I could figure out what they were so I could give them away. Like, so I could answer that question,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so being in sisterhood and having that platform, that was a safe place for me, but also a space where these women were coming to grow and they were taking steps and they were really embodying who they are and whose they are.
Yeah.
And so I had this platform and I said, okay, like I'm gonna teach on this. So like what are they, right? Like force myself, right? Like I've got a deadline or what have you. But just see where it goes. And yet uncovering them. So I pieced some together. And then I was like, you know what? I have something here. And I did a little teaching on it in my sisterhood. And it hit big time. And I was like, oh, I have something more here. Like I actually have quite a bit. When it comes to each, I actually parted it into six different columns or pillars and anchors that between sifting through old notebooks and convention notes and this master class I took or what have you. And so I put it into these six kind of categories. And I now get to teach on it into like an actionable series of master classes. And yet that platform and that gave me kind of that two piece. Like I was in action
Mm-hmm.
and I needed that answer, like not only for myself, but I knew I needed to answer it for others. And so, yeah, I grabbed onto these anchors and then this summer I'd been teaching them through the spring and I sat down. This is, I'm just giving you it all. So, um, I sat down to journal on my deck, put the baby to her nap, right? Sat down to journal because my summer wasn't going the way I thought it was going to go. It was one of those like we were on this trajectory and then it got shifted. And I was like, oh, so like the way I had planned my days for July is not going to be the same. So like how am I going to do this, right? So just wanted to lay it out again. And I had basically my entire guided journal just pour out of me. Like all of the answers, right? Those anchors poured out in a form that is digestible so that these women that pick up this guided journal can get those things when they don't have time for a master class, when they don't go to 6 conventions in a year, or, right? And it just poured out of me. And so here we are, 6 months later. I have a journal, and there's your answer. Like,
Dude, I love that, Shayna. I love that you're sharing that because so many times, so many of us are hindered by, should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I take action? Should I not take action? And again, it's all about wanting to see the things before you actually do the things. And I think that's what faith in action is the opposite, right? It's operating before you see it happening and knowing that it is just gonna come and fall into place. And so for it to just pour out of you like that, like it was already there, but you had to trust and pick up the pen and let it out. And I think that's the beauty about it is sometimes we're not already the professional in it. So we're not always in our mind's eye, in our view, we're not seeming as if we're ready because we have this perception of ready, right?
yeah,
But when we do faith in action, we're going, you know what? I'm gonna build this community. I'm gonna teach and I'm gonna talk with other women. We're gonna start sharing our stories. We're gonna do small development. And it then all just comes together because had you not taken those steps in action, then you wouldn't have that. And I think that's the beauty behind it because I think when I was going through my own coaching program, my coach was like, go practice it. Like, you want to be a coach? Start practicing it. And I'm like, what do you mean? Start teaching what you're learning and stuff. And they're like, oh, but I'm just learning it. I don't know it all that well. No, once you start to practice, once you start doing, um, it starts to become like a muscle memory for you and you start understanding it in a different perspective rather than
right.
just being one that is gaining the knowledge, you start understanding it from the teaching perspective. And so you're able to do that. And so what I'm hearing in this too is just the experience of growth and even maybe some, oh, these are some things that I have to kind of strip away from my character so that I can continue to evolve into this motivational speaker and coach that you're becoming. Um, if you're open to it, what were some of the things that you did have to kind of let go of? I know we talked about control being a big factor. Was that the only thing that you had to let go of as you're stepping into this model that we see today? Yeah.
Um, so control is part of the answer.
Hmm.
The answer to this particular question to get to to an opening place, right? To a place of growth. Um, it was opening my circle.
Mm.
And so doing like, man, switching my Facebook profile to public, right? And like accepting the friend requests, is going back onto TikTok or posting once a week on LinkedIn. Um, Conversations like this. I mean,
Yeah.
whoever listens to this, go find me. Go find Angelina. Like, go be a part of our circle.
Yeah.
And yet, like 6 months ago, I was kind of ready. I was trickling in that, like I was allowing the trickle.
Hmm.
Um, and well, so here's the piece of that God story. Um, so I wrote this journal poured out of me, right? And I was doing all the things and organizing it and getting it edited and doing all the stuff. And I had this title picked out. And I was like, yeah, it's a good title. It's on brand, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, it'll work, you know. I wasn't praying about it. And so my husband and I were getting ready to have a little change of scenery for a couple weeks for his job. And I was like, all right, God. Actually, I didn't even say that. I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, if I'm gonna publish this journal while we're gone, like just thinking, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's like God stopped me and he said, the title you have chosen will not allow this journal to be as big as it's going to be.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, so like, can you give me a new title? Like, because I really do want to do this.
Yeah.
And wow, like 10 days later, I had this title, Anchoring Amidst. And does it not allow me to tell my story in the most open and beautiful way that makes it a gift? Like, I don't even know. Only God, right? Like, wow.
Mm. That is, and it's beautiful because it is all that. It is all that. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. And so this this anchoring
Mhm.
and being able to tell your story and share. And so hearing having to trust again, and not necessarily like trust in other people, but to open yourself up like that because having experienced the loss that you experienced, I mean, it was so profound that it made you want to bottle everything up, right? And so I understand like opening yourself up, switching, the physical switching from private to public, like those are big, huge steps, for some of us that are like, oh, I don't get it. But no, it really is because the hurt that you had received. I mean, I can't imagine that type of loss in my own, in my own imagination. I can't even imagine and fathom that. But I can see how devastating a loss like that could impact you so much that you really want to just curdle up, right? And just lock everything away and not engage anymore. And so for you to really truly that being the thing that changes and shifts for you. Like, I do need to open up. I do need to share this story because had I not done that, then this journal would never have come about. And in the journal, I would not be sharing my own story and, of this revelation that I am now receiving. So I think it's so beautiful. And that's the thing out there, guys. Anybody that's listening, like that's the thing, being able to open up and to share the things that hurt you. Yes, it takes trust, it takes vulnerability, it takes opening up the hard parts that we want to lock away. But in it, I mean, you built this community, the community of sisterhood. There's so many people that are benefiting from what you are sharing and what you are doing that wouldn't be receiving that had you not taken your faith in action steps for sure.
Yeah.
So I just think that's amazing. So my question now is you do have this faith and you're living it and you're in action. What other spiritual practices do you put in place to help you continue to nurture this part of your spirit, this part of your life?
What other practices?
Mhm.
Um, Really, it's continuing to answer those questions.
Mhm.
Like keeping that muscle strong
Mhm.
of your confidence and your resilience and the things of this world that try and tear us down, right? Like, or
Mhm.
distract us. And so to keep my eyes focused on God and to remember that like, He's working it all out for good.
Mm.
And so cataloging that, writing it down, having a place, not only can you go to your Bible and be reminded, but you have words too, right? Like he gives you those too.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so keeping that for yourself as well.
Shane, I want to just say, wow, that's such a powerful reminder that fruit doesn't grow overnight because it does, it takes time and there's some pruning and sometimes even storms to bring out the sweetest harvest when we talk about this. And before I wrap up, I want to move into some final reflection questions for you.
Yeah.
Um, so a question that I have is if you could leave our listeners with one seed of truth or encouragement to plant in their own lives today, what would it be?
Hmm. I think I'd kind of have to repeat that what I just said, like having the reminder that God asks for faith and action. Like remembering that.
Hmm.
Um, Grab onto something. And this world, right? The things around us, the chaos,
Hmm.
the devices, the whatever, they're not something to grab onto.
Hmm.
It's the resilience that we can build within ourselves, like from faith and action, is what gets us through anything. And it's subtle. I did it without knowing it, right? Like you
Yes.
can too.
Oh, and when you give that wisdom, the thing that stirs is that to trust God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding because he will make the path straight for sure. Um, so that's where it starts. It really does. And Shayna, I want to ask too, I mean, before we close, tell our listeners where they can connect with you or learn more about what you're doing or your upcoming projects. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. Well, Shaina Hargens on any of the platforms. If I'm not there, fine. If I'm there, follow me. Like I'm I'm definitely not going to be everywhere, nor do I want to be, right? Capacity.
Mhm.
And anchoringamidst.com. It
Mhm.
not only has a link to my journal, but also just different free resources and tools for you to use to build that resilience for yourself.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Shayna, so much for sharing your heart and your story today. Your journey reminds us that fruit of the Spirit isn't about perfection, it's about progress, faith, and the daily choices to walk in love and truth. So, for those that are listening, if today's conversation spoke to you, take a moment to reflect on which fruit God may be nurturing in you right now. Remember, growth takes time, but every seed planted in faith will bear fruit in due season. Until next time, friends, I'm Angelina Mojica, and I want to encourage you to stay rooted, stay real, and stay growing. I send you all my love, my peace, and my blessings.